30 years strong. That takes me right back to day one. The year was 1985, and I had an appointment with Dr. Gordy Klatt, a Tacoma colorectal surgeon. You know that couldn't have been good. He could tell that I was nervous, and so in order to make me feel more comfortable during my appointment, he started to tell me about what he was planning to do in just a few short months. He intended to run and walk around a university track for 24 straight hours to raise money for the American Cancer Society. That sounded pretty exhausting to me, but I liked the idea he was doing it, so I pledged $10. Keep in mind that $10 represented a lot of money back in 1985. I didn't think much about it until that very night he was set to do his run, when out of the blue, I felt compelled to go up to the track. It was just 5 minutes from my home, so I figured, why not? I was anxious to see how he was faring. But imagine the disappointment I felt when I got there. The gate was locked, and all I could do was peer over the fence. I can still clearly see in my head the image of him running in his short shorts. By the way, that was the style in 1985. We'll see who wears those tonight. There were probably 25 people on the track. Each one had paid $25 to run a half hour with him. Again, that was big money in 1985. Disappointed that I couldn't get inside to really see what was going on, I went back home to go to bed. But as soon as I returned home, I called the Tacoma newspaper to tell them about what was going on up at the University of Puget Sound track. You see, my day job was in the public information office at the Tacoma School District. That meant I worked with the media on an almost daily basis. They chided me about how they would have to pay double overtime at midnight on a Friday night. I chided them right back about their missing a really compelling story. And as it turns out, they did pay a visit to the track at 6 the next morning, and so a photo and a story ran that day. Sleep didn't come easy for me that night. Something inside me told me I just had to go back up to that track. So at 1 in the morning, I got dressed again, much to the bafflement of my husband, and went back up to the track. The gate was still locked, so I kept my perch on the outside, just watching lap after lap. I know it doesn't sound like the most exciting Friday night, but something drove me to be there, and I'm glad I was. As we all know, Gordy raised an amazing $27,000 and covered 83 miles in that 24 hours. What an accomplishment. A couple of months later, Gordy called me to tell me that while he was on that track, he was blown away by the spirit he sensed there, as was I, and how surprised he was by the number of people who came out to run just a half an hour with him. While still on the track, he started talking with Carl Jones, his ACF staff partner, who walked backwards with him for hours, talking to and coaching him along the way. Gordy had a vision and felt this event could become a team event where teams of people ran and walked in relay fashion around a track for 24 hours to raise big dollars to fight cancer. What an awesome concept. Gordy told me he was putting together a small committee to put on the event the next year and asked if I would be part of it. Immediately, my head said no. I was very involved in my community, serving on boards and chairing major projects. Plus, I had a full-time career. But my heart got in the way, and I said yes, I'd like to help with that. That first relay the next year had a very different name. It was called the City of Destiny Classic 24-Hour Run, Walk Against Cancer. Is that a mouthful or what? As a person who worked in marketing, it was a nightmare. Our small committee of 6 managed everything. Gordy's staff partner was, in real life, the executive director of the Pierce unit of ACS and was overseeing all other programs, so we were practically on our own. For that first year, it was okay. We were just finding our way. The logistics of the track were pretty straightforward, but recruitment was another story. How could we sell companies on this radical idea of their employees putting together a team to be in a relay to spend a day and night at a school track to fight cancer? How would we bring the people? We conjured up the idea of having a corporate breakfast at a local hotel, and each of us on the committee reached out to companies that we knew and invited them to send a representative. A local TV reporter had, on his own time, videotaped Gordy's solo effort, so he put together a video that we showed at that first corporate breakfast. And we managed to recruit 19 teams for our very first event in Tacoma in 1986. The tents were few and far between on that big football field in 1986. I still can picture them. Years later, when every inch of that turf was covered by tents, as it still is today, I thought back about our beginnings and reveled in how far we had come. The best part of that first event was the indescribable spirit that permeated that infield. I can still feel it today. And we raised $33,000. After that year, we knew we were onto something, and we started sharing our success. The Relay for Life movement spread throughout the state of Washington, but it wasn't for a few years that it really took off across the nation. In fact, Gordy and I traveled around the country to ACS conferences and workshops talking about Relay for Life and encouraging other staff and volunteers to give it a try. Many were hesitant at first, but they came around. And boy, did they end up bringing the people. My relationship with Gordy Klatt began 30 years ago. He was my doctor. I was his patient. But over the years and through Relay for Life, our relationship developed into a friendship, one that I will miss dearly. I can tell you all that Gordy was so proud of each and every one of you and the amazing things you continue to accomplish in your communities through Relay for Life. I am equally as proud, and thank you for your dedication to finish the fight. My name is Pat Flynn. I began relaying in 1986. They call me the mother of relay, and I am so proud to say that Relay for Life is 30 years strong.